Ange Postecoglou is desperate to bring Conor Gallagher to Spurs this summer, but the idea of the transfer has split opinion amongst the Spurs fan base. Gallagher is set to be the subject of a lot of interest from clubs this summer given Chelsea's financial situation, with Spurs and Aston Villa reportedly preparing their offers. But what does Ange Postecoglou see in the English midfielder that maybe a lot of Spurs fans don't? In this video, we're going to get into some of the pros and cons of the potential signing, but before we do that, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Tottenham content. Conor Gallagher has proven himself to be one of the most durable, most combative midfielders in the Premier League. Only 4 midfielders played more minutes than Conor Gallagher in the Premier League last season, and given the amount of football Spurs are set to play next year, being back in the Europa League, and the amount of injuries we had in those midfield positions last season, that durability is something that's clearly important to Ange Postecoglou. Given Tottenham's intense style of play, it's important for Spurs' midfielders to be combative and be destructive. Conor Gallagher is a pressing monster and would fit Ange Postecoglou's system like a glove. Spurs averaged 8.8 passes per defensive action in the Premier League last year. Passes per defensive action is a good way to measure a team's ability to press. That was the lowest in the Premier League, essentially implying that Spurs are the best pressing team. Ranking second for high turnovers in the Premier League last season as well, just behind Manchester City. 70 of those ending in a shot, the 4th most in the Premier League last season, with 10 goals coming from that. High pressing is a principle that Ange Postecoglou sees as a non-negotiable. Only one midfielder won the ball back more times in the attacking third last season than Conor Gallagher, and that was Dejan Kulusevski. Gallagher is that workhorse in that Chelsea midfield, evident in those high pressing stats. Only 4 players in the Premier League covered more distance than him last season. Only 9 midfielders in the Premier League had more combined tackles and interceptions than Gallagher last season with 128. He made more tackles than Declan Rice and had a higher ground duel success rate than the likes of Douglas Luiz and Alexis McAllister. But Gallagher is that all-round midfielder. I think a lot of Spurs fans and a lot of other fans see him as this workhorse. They see him as this runner in midfield, but he does have quality in the final third too. At the midway stage of last season, Conor Gallagher was the only player in Europe's top 5 leagues with 20 plus shots, 20 plus chances created, 20 plus dribbles completed, 20 plus touches in the opposition box, 20 plus duels won, 20 plus tackles, and 20 plus interceptions. Postecoglou likes his midfielders to be in and amongst the goals, and Conor Gallagher had 12 goals and assists in the Premier League last season. 7 of those his assists and 5 goals, all coming from open play. Only James Maddison out of Tottenham's midfielders last season had more goal contributions in the Premier League with 13, and it's something that needs to improve in Spurs' midfield going forward, hence why they're looking at someone like Conor Gallagher. Pat Matasar had 6 goal contributions, Rodrigo Bentancur had 2, and Yves Bissouma and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg both had none. However, obviously it's important to factor in someone like Rodrigo Bentancur's minutes. Conor Gallagher played around 2,000 more minutes than him in the Premier League, and as was evident under Antonio Conte, we know Rodrigo Bentancur's ability to arrive late in the box, which is a huge strength for Conor Gallagher. However, again, when you go back to that durability, it makes Conor Gallagher an attractive option given how much time someone like Rodrigo Bentancur spent on the sidelines last season, as did James Maddison and as did Yves Bissouma as well through injury and suspension. A lot of these goals came from Conor Gallagher arriving late into the box. Those third man runs from a deeper midfield position, getting on the end of crosses and sweeping them into the corner. This was seen against Crystal Palace in the league where he got that brace to turn the game around for Chelsea, against Manchester United in the Premier League, and against Aston Villa in the FA Cup where he showed a great touch and finish inside the penalty area. He's someone that's not afraid to get a shot off. 48 shots it took Conor Gallagher to get those 5 goals in the Premier League last season, and as you can see, a lot of those goals coming from a very similar position. However, he's not afraid to take a shot on from distance either. As you saw in his goal late on last season against Aston Villa, that beautiful left-footed curling shot into the top corner from outside the box. Shots outside of the box were a problem for Spurs last season. We very rarely had players who were brave enough to take them on. We scored just 7 goals from outside the box in the Premier League, and for reference, Manchester City topped the table with 15. Liverpool scored 12 from outside the box. Sometimes it's just about that bravery to have a go. And if that's the level that Spurs want to get to compete with those top clubs, that could be a marginal gain that Conor Gallagher could bring to the Spurs side next season. You can also see from that shot map too that he's not afraid to get in and around the 6-yard area to get on the end of chances. That ability to ghost in and arrive late into the penalty area is so valuable in the Premier League these days. The amount of goals that scored from cutbacks are on the rise every single year, and it's an area where Spurs actually get a lot of joy. You think about Pat Matasar's goal against Manchester United last year, Rodrigo Bentancur's goal at Old Trafford too. A lot of people also like to knock Conor Gallagher's technical ability, but his goal against Leeds in the FA Cup is a great example of his ability to receive the ball under pressure on the half turn and produce a moment of real quality with the finish. Another factor that makes Conor Gallagher such an attractive proposition for Spurs is the fact that he's homegrown. Like a lot of clubs, Spurs have got a little bit of a homegrown issue right now, hence why we're targeting deals for the likes of Ebery Eze, Conor Gallagher and Marcus Edwards. Being back in Europe also adds to those stresses as well. well with the homegrown rules there. So Gallagher would just ease them slightly. Those are some of the pros, but what are the reasons why Spurs should maybe look elsewhere and not sign Conor Gallagher this summer? First of all, the price. Chelsea have reportedly slapped a 50 million price tag on Conor Gallagher's head, which is a lot of money for someone in the last year of their contract. And £50 million is understandably a lot of money to pay for someone in the last year of their deal. There have been reports suggesting that Chelsea need to sell Conor Gallagher before the 30th of June to ease their PSR concerns. However, some conflicting reports contradict that, suggesting that the sale of Lewis Hall might help ease their financial issues to the extent that means they might not have to sell Conor Gallagher after all. Gallagher seems keen to stay at Chelsea, which is another reason why I think a lot of Spurs fans have been put off. And those links to Chelsea generally just feel a little bit uneasy. I mean, I can't personally believe that we're in a world where Tottenham and Chelsea might potentially do business with one another. That was a big no-no under the Roman Abramovich era. Spurs didn't want to deal with Chelsea and Chelsea didn't want to deal with Spurs. But that seems to have changed. As long as there's money on the table for Todd Boehly, I think they'll be willing to talk. However, £50 million is an inflated price tag these days. Is he worth that? Maybe not. But are a lot of players worth what they actually go for? I'm not too put off by the price, to be honest. One of my main reasons to not sign him is the competition for places in that position in the squad already, especially when we've got Lucas Bergvall coming to the club next season and Tyrese Hall coming through the academy who can play in that number 8 position. Spurs will move players on in that position. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg will go. Giovanni Lo Celso will go. There's been reports that Spurs might accept a bid for someone like Yves Bissouma. Could Conor Gallagher play as that number 6 if Bissouma was to leave? Potentially. But I think another reason why Spurs fans don't want to see Spurs spend a load of money on Conor Gallagher is that they believe we need a number 6. Should someone like Edison from Atalanta be higher on the agenda given that he can play number 6 and number 8? Or do Spurs go all out for someone like a João Paulinho? This is a deal that I've flip-flopped on a hell of a lot, and to be honest, I can't tell you where I'm at right now. I think it'd be a great signing for Spurs in terms of what he could bring to Ange Postecoglou's midfield. However, is it necessary? Is he enough of a game changer for Spurs to warrant spending £50 million on him? I still think there's a good chance this deal gets done. Conor Gallagher's involvement at the Euros might complicate it slightly. You'd imagine he'll be in that final 26-man squad. We'll find out very imminently. And by the time you're watching this video, you may already know. And on that as well, I think he brings a lot to England. I think a lot of people saw his performance the other night as a bit underwhelming. But I think the more you understand what Conor Gallagher is, the more you can appreciate him as a player. And I hope this has given you a different perspective. I think Conor Gallagher is a very well-rounded midfielder, and I don't think a lot of people see him as that. Let me know in the comments below, would you want to see Spurs sign Conor Gallagher this summer? And do you think £50 million is a fair price tag? If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you like it, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn the notification bell on so you can be notified when I upload. There's going to be a load more Spurs and England content coming over the summer, so make sure you stick around and stay tuned. Peace.